Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. Zhou put the life heart away, feeling unprecedentedly excited. Nevertheless, he grumbled inwardly about the extraordinary power as he rushed out. At the same time, he opened the system interface. Merit points, 33,130. He looked at the price of the Deadly Strike card. 26,000 merit points. It would be a loss for him to kill 1,000 Realms Whirling Cultivators with a Deadly Strike card. Moreover, 1,000 Realms Whirling Cultivators who had activated their birth charts were even more troublesome. With the birth charts, the effect of the Deadly Strike card was reduced tremendously. Naturally, as a 1,000 Realms Whirling Cultivator himself, he knew how difficult it was to look for life hearts to activate one's birth charts. Considering the rarity of life hearts, Yao must have hated him to death for destroying one of his birth charts with the Deadly Strike card. Soon after, Zhou's mind drifted to the guiding mark of the formation that Yao pushed into the stone wall. What's with that guiding mark? It had to be a contact point that had been there for a long time. Moreover, if the passage to the Black Lotus domain was under the lava, Yao had to escape into the depths of Skywheel Rift Valley. If he returned now, he would probably run into Yao. He regretted not destroying the guiding mark because he had left in a hurry. After flying out of the Skywheel Rift Valley, Zhou did not leave immediately. He hovered in the star-dotted sky as he muttered to himself, "If he's not convinced, I'll destroy another one of his birth charts." If Zhou managed to destroy another one of Yao's birth charts, he was certain he would be able to defeat Yao, who was left with 3 birth charts, with his 2 birth charts and extraordinary power. Moreover, Yao had lost an arm and was greatly injured at this moment. After mulling over the matter for a moment, Zhou felt like something was amiss. Now that I think about it, it seems like I should be able to win. I should have seized the chance to pursue him and attack. Why did I stop when the situation was favorable to me? I've suffered a great loss. With this thought in mind, Zhou dove back into the Skywheel Rift Valley and entered the underground cave again. Unfortunately, he did not see Yao. He flew toward the guiding mark before he struck it with his palm. The already damaged stone wall was instantly reduced into a mountain of rubble after he was done. The dimly lit guiding mark was completely destroyed. Boom. 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 The rocks continued to fall into the bubbling lava. Is the passage close? It seemed like the guiding mark was not just a guiding mark, it also marked the passage that linked the Black Lotus domain and the Red Lotus domain. The Black Lotus domain was strong enough to monopolize the birth chart beasts in the Red Lotus domain with no one the wiser. Would they set their sights on the Golden Lotus domain as well? The Golden Lotus domain's cultivation limit was at the 8th or 9th leaf. The Golden Lotus that absorbed one's lifespan was the shackle of heaven and earth. The process of sprouting the 9th leaf would attract the huge beasts. Based on the general cultivation speed, the Golden Lotus domain should have 10-leaf cultivators within a few years. At that time, the Golden Lotus domain would attract birth chart beasts. The law of the jungle, naturally, applied to the Golden Lotus domain as well. In the past, due to the weakness of the Golden Lotus domain, it remained invisible. However, once birth chart beasts began to appear, would the Black Lotus domain try to monopolize the birth chart beasts in the Golden Lotus domain? Zhou shook his head, there was no point dwelling on this matter for now. It was best for him to return first. With that, Zhou left the Skywheel Rift Valley. About half an hour after Zhou left, Yao walked out into the lava-filled cave as he pressed one hand against his shoulder. So cautious? Yao looked at the entrance to the underground cave with lingering fear in his heart. Fortunately, he was patient enough to endure staying hidden for close to an hour. If it were not for this, he would have been beaten by that mysterious expert again. As Yao rose into the air, he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. He gritted his teeth as he looked at the destroyed guiding mark. Who's he? An envoy from the Blue Lotus domain? However, there's no record of a Blue Lotus domain in the Black Tower Council. What's happening? Is it a case of the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind? Yao gritted his teeth and endured the excruciating pain. He could not help but shudder when this thought appeared in his mind. In his mind, the Black Lotus domain had always been the hunters, and the other domains were like sheep. What the hell was the Blue Lotus then? He could not figure it out. I must report this to the Black Tower's council, Yao muttered to himself as he looked at the lava. Buzz. 1,000 realms whirling avatar appeared. Its height had dropped from 500 feet to 450 feet. Yi Yao could not help but tremble again when he recalled the golden seal of fearlessness. Activating a birth chart absorbs 1,500 years from a fierce beast's life span through its life heart. After that, a distinct birth zone would appear, providing a cultivator with an additional 500 years of life. In addition to raising one's cultivation base, prolonging lifespan, and bestowing one with special skills, a birth chart could also help a cultivator to block a fatal injury. That was equivalent to having an extra life. Naturally, this also meant that the birth chart would be lost. Only Yi Yao knew how it felt to lose something as important and precious as a birth chart at this moment. With the loss of a birth chart and his arm, how could he not feel resentful? He looked at the entrance with dark eyes as he muttered to himself, I'll remember you. The next time we meet, I'll destroy your birth charts before I take your life. Boom. Splash. Yi Yao dove into the lava with his 1,000 realms whirling avatar in tow. After a moment, there was no movement in the underground cave except for the bubbling lava. It was almost midnight when Zhou returned to the Literary Star Hall in the Sky Martial Court. With the purple glazed ceramic and the mystic heaven realm cultivation base, it was almost impossible for anyone to notice him. Zhou did not feel happy even though he had acquired a new life heart. After all, he had just discovered the deadly strike card that he had relied on the most could no longer be considered his most powerful trump card. However, through his first battle with 1,000 realms whirling cultivator, he learned more about the uses of a birth chart. Zhou recalled his first meeting with Lu Li. If they were to fight, perhaps, he might be at a disadvantage. However, he had more than 500,000 merit points at that time. Therefore, it was not completely impossible as well for him to destroy 5 birth charts. In the past, Zhou had only used the deadly strike card as a last resort. It was not a means to earn merit points. Moreover, he was rather prudent when using the cards due to his fear of a price hike. However, currently, it seemed like the deadly strike card had become rather useless. He did not need the deadly strike cards to deal with cultivators below the mystic heaven realm. However, now that the card was unable to deal with those in or above the mystic realm, did not it mean the card was now useless? Yi Yao will definitely seek revenge from me. How should I deal with him? Zhou looked at the system interface. Merit points, 33,130. Remaining lifespan, 961,401 days, out of 2,634 years, 110 years are from reversal cards. Only slightly more than 30,000 merit points? Zhou felt poor. It was not worth it to buy a deadly strike card now. Rather than depending on the deadly strike card to deal with that 1,000 realms whirling cultivator, it was better for him to focus his efforts on his birth charts. Zhou brought the scarlet pheasant's life heart out and let it hover in front of him. Ding! The scarlet pheasant's life heart contains 2,000 years of life and can be used to activate a birth chart. Every activated birth chart will grant a cultivator 500 years of life. The birth palace would absorb 1,500 years of life from the life heart, leaving an additional 500 years behind a ability, fire control. Subsequently, Zhou brought out the piece of cloth Lu Li had given him and studied the positions of human-grade birth charts to search for a suitable position for the life heart with fire attributes. The young had increased his defenses, and the other fierce beast increased his offensive power and granted him the fire resistance ability. The life heart of the scarlet pheasant's fire control complemented the fierce beast's fire resistance. As he looked at the description on the cloth, Zhou looked at the earth-grade birth charts with fire attributes longingly before he shifted his eyes to the human-grade birth charts on the left and the right of the birth palace respectively. The life heart he had just obtained would grant him the ability to control fire, and he could put it in the same place in the birth palace as the previous life heart that granted him the fire resistance ability. Zhou was perplexed. I haven't activated all the human-grade birth charts. I wonder if I can activate an Earth-grade birth chart? Buzz. Zhou manifested his Thousand Realms whirling avatar. Then, he looked at the positions in the birth palace on the lotus seat. Then, he gently placed the scarlet pheasant's life heart on the fire attribute zone on the lotus seat. Ding. To activate this birth chart, you need to activate at least 5 birth charts. As expected, Zhou thought to himself. Since it was like this, he could only place this life heart into the same place as the life heart of the fierce beast that granted him the fire resistance ability. Whoosh. After Zhou placed the life heart on the lotus seat and in the birth palace, the life heart sank into the birth palace. Vitality energy began to swirl around the life heart in just a blink of an eye. Zhou knew that this process would take a long time, so he no longer paid any attention to it. Instead, he closed his eyes and entered the meditative state while he waited for the activation of this birth chart to be completed. An hour later. Whoosh. Zhou felt a scorching air blowing against his face. When he opened his eyes, he saw a raging golden fire burning tall in his birth palace on the lotus seat. Karmic fire? Previously, the karmic fire would burn around the lotus or appear in his hands. However, it was burning and surging in his birth palace now. Swoosh. The flames continued to rise and burn. Ding. There are leftover years of life from the life heart, they'll be converted into energy. As soon as Zhou received the system notification, he felt a burning sensation all over his body, in his internal organs, and his Dantian sea of qi. All of them were burning with karmic fire at this moment. This is bad. As expected, one should not recklessly use the life heart. Just like medicine, taking too much might come with unpleasant effects. Before using this birth chart heart, Zhou had a feeling that it was more suitable to be placed in the position of the Earth-grade fire attribute birth charts that he saw on the piece of cloth, the birth chart map. Putting in the zone of human-grade birth charts was obviously an overkill. If he could not withstand this, it would backfire on him without a doubt. Zhou endured the restless fire and heat in his body as he tried his best to calm his surging blood qi and energy. As long as he could ride through this wave of fire, he would be able to successfully activate his birth chart. How ironic was it that he was being burned by his own karmic fire? The burning sensation grew more painful. Buzz. Zhou's forehead was drenched in sweat as he manifested his avatar to prevent the karmic fire from burning the building down. Zhou frowned slightly as he looked at the flames on the shoulders of his avatar. The flames looked abnormally bright and dazzling. He tried his best to control the flames on his Dharma body to not burn the building. He only needed to wrap the Dharma body. Extraordinary power. He used the extraordinary power he had painstakingly saved. The extraordinary power appeared and shrouded his avatar, and he felt like he was being submerged in cool water. It extinguished the flames of the karmic fire in just a blink of an eye. Zhou looked at the birth palace in the center of his lotus seat. It seemed like it was about to stop spinning. Apart from that, there was no movement in the birth chart zone, its distinct edges showed no sign of lighting up. Am I going to fail? Zhou waited for a moment. There was still no change that indicated he had successfully activated a birth chart. Failure is the mother of success. Zhou sighed as he shook his head. One could learn from one's mistakes. Zhou was about to withdraw his avatar when. Swoosh. The flames on the lotus seat reignited with a vengeance. He looked at the place in the birth palace where he had placed the scarlet pheasant's life heart and saw that the flames had reignited there as well. Thankfully, I didn't use too much of my extraordinary power earlier. Zhou was overwhelmed with relief. He continued to maintain his avatar. This time, the burning sensation had disappeared. The side effects brought by the overflow of energy were also gone. The process of activating this birth chart was now similar to the first 2 times he activated his birth charts. Zhou sighed in relief. He was incredibly lucky he managed to successfully activate his birth chart this time. The slightest mistake would have rendered the life heart useless. Out of caution, Zhou paid attention to the activation of the birth chart for a while. After confirming he was on the right track, he closed his eyes to meditate on the heavenly writing. Early the next morning, Zhou opened his eyes and looked at the birth palace in the center of the lotus seat. It was still burning, and the life heart was still absorbing vitality energy. Why is it taking so long? The activation of the birth chart this time far exceeded the previous 2 times. He gauged his extraordinary power and determined he needed another 2 days to fully replenish it. Therefore, he used the purple glazed ceramic and continued to meditate on the heavenly writing. The scripts from the heavenly writing appeared in his mind. With the help of the purple glazed ceramic, the scripts from the heavenly writing appeared at a much faster rate than before. The feeling of immersing himself in meditation was incredibly comfortable. It was like meeting again after a long separation. 2 days passed in just a blink of an eye. It was quiet inside and outside of the literary star hall. Wuya had gone to look for his master. However, when he received no response, he did not dare to enter without permission. Fortunately, his master trusted him, so he made his own decisions one after another. When he returned to the sacred rites hall, he saw Li Yunjing with dark circles around his eyes waiting for him with an ingratiating expression on his face. "Teacher, I finally understood this question. Can you give me another month?" Li Yunzheg said with an embarrassed expression on his face as he held a few pieces of paper up. During this time, he had been studying the riddles that Wuya had given him. Up until now, he only managed to understand some of it, let alone solve them. Wuya returned to the table. He glanced at Li Yunjing and said, "There's no need for that. You can't solve this question." "Why?" "Oh, I understand. Is this an unsolvable riddle?" Li Yunjing asked. "There is a solution. What I mean is that with your ability, you can't solve it," Wuya said. During this time, Li Yunjing's confidence had been completely destroyed. He, who claimed to be well-read, was beaten up in almost every aspect in front of Wuya. In the past, Wuya had been a grand tutor in the imperial court, after all. Apart from that, he was also much older than Li Yunjing. Therefore, his knowledge and experience were not something Li Yunjing could hope to match. Wuya asked, "In your opinion, if you want to take back your authority, where do you have to start?" "I'll naturally start with the civil and military officials. As long as there's no objection from them, I'd be able to sit firmly on my throne," Li Yunjing replied. "Think about it again." Wuya picked a brush up. He clearly did not think much of Li Yunjing's answer. "Am I wrong?" "Teacher, the 4 Grand Dukes have been persuaded by Grandmaster's strength that's in the mystic sky realm. With Grandmaster on my side, they'll definitely stand on my side as well. With the support from the 4 Grand Dukes, we only need to convince the civil and military officials by giving them a little benefit," Li Yunjing said. "Think again." Wuya shook his head. Li Yunjing scratched his head. No matter how much he thought about it, he could not think of a better method. After an hour, he finally gave up. He bowed before he said, "Teacher, please enlighten me." Wuya put the brush down before he said, "Xia Hosheng leads the royal guards, the main force that controls the capital." Li Yunjing asked, "I don't know where Xia Hosheng is hiding." "There's no news of him in the capital. With Grandmaster around, he probably wouldn't dare to come out of hiding, right? Ever since Yu Qinshu died, Xia Hosheng had not been seen. Nothing is absolute in the world." Wuya rose to his feet and placed his hands on his back before he said, "Xia Hosheng has 100,000 royal guards under his control. You must never forget that." "Teacher, please enlighten me," Li Yunjing said. "The weak have no right to speak," Wuya said slowly. "You're the ruler of a country, so you should understand this the most." Li Yunjing nodded. Wuya continued to say, "You must make the 8 great generals of the 10 paths submit." Li Yunjing said hesitantly, "They're all heroes who protect the people and the country, and if I. As a ruler, you should never be indecisive. You're still young, so I can make decisions for you. You will understand in a few years. If you're not willing to let me make this decision for you, you can leave now. Our relationship as teacher and student will end here." Wuya's almost ruthless way of doing things stunned Li Yunjing. He found it hard to accept. Si Wuya knew he had to be ruthless. Si Wuya also knew that he had to be ruthless. However, when he recalled Li Yunjing's young age, he sighed. He knew he could not press Li Yunjing too hard as well. Si Wuya had seen the rise and fall of the imperial court in the Golden Lotus domain. He had seen siblings killing each other and the fall of the imperial family. Si Wuya looked outside the window and asked, Zhenghai Jian, the person who came with me, do you know his true identity? Li Yunjing shook his head, indicating that he did not know. Si Wuya said, he's the third prince of Great Yan's imperial family, Lu Chen. At that time, many people thought he would surely be the successor of the throne. Not only was he the most promising prince in the history of Great Yan, but he was also the most favored prince. Alas, a fire in his palace burned thousands of people to death. At that time, the imperial army, the Black Knights, the great generals of the 9 provinces, not a single person stood on his side. His voice lowered as he continued to say, without sufficient strength, even those closest to you might betray you or not take your side. The blood that flows down the dagger that is stabbed into your heart might be black. Do you understand? Then, Si Wuya said in a grave tone, remember this, those generals are not your generals. He emphasized heavily on the word your. Li Yunjing trembled. Si Wuya continued to say, in a few days, I will discuss the matter of entering the palace with your grandmaster. You should return for now and think about this. I will take my leave then. Si Wuya's simple words have stirred up chaos in Li Yunjing's mind. Meanwhile, in the literary star hall. Ding. You've meditated on the earth scroll 300 times. Obtained a privilege from the heavenly writing. With this privilege, you can upgrade the extraordinary power to the supreme mystic power. Lu Zhou opened his eyes after receiving these system notifications. After 3 days, he felt as though he had fallen asleep and had suddenly woken up from a dream. At this moment. Ding. Worshipped by 15,500 people. Reward, 15,500 merit points received. Ding. Worshipped by 8,750 people. Reward, 0 merit points.